Let's test cheap versus expensive leggings. Expensive one, very cool. Let's test cheap versus expensive cement. And it's a draw, very cool. Let's test cheap versus expensive mini blenders. An expensive one, very cool. Let's test cheap versus expensive hand soap. An expensive one, very cool. Let's test cheap versus expensive Astros. Starting with the grip test, we can see that cheap holds on longer. Moving on to our kick test, then cheap seems to have more spring to it. Expensive performs slightly better on a run test, having a bit more feel to it, but we can see that it has a slightly worse stopping distance than cheap. And finally, we can see cheap is better ventilated than expensive, so cheap wins. Very cool. Let's test cheap versus expensive breakfast cereals. Starting with the sogginess test, we can see that expensive gets less soggy over time, and we can also confirm expensive is a chocolatier cereal. On our dry crunch test, this time cheap does much better. Most importantly, on our midnight snack run test, they're about as loud as each other. And finally, on our taste test, expensive has a nicer overall flavour, so expensive wins.